Well, good morning. It's good to be with you today. I'm going to look at Psalm 107 this morning. It's part of our lectionary series. It's our Psalm of the week. And I want to start off by reading the first couple of verses for you. Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His love endures forever. Let the redeemed of the Lord tell their story. Those he redeemed from the hand of the foe, those he gathered from the lands, from the east and west, from north and south. Psalm 107 goes on to tell of some of the trouble of God's people, the way they wandered in the desert, the way they lived in times of darkness and despair. It tells of their struggle, of their challenges, and yet God was with them. God brought them from darkness, and as the psalm says, led them on a straight way. God redeemed them. God carried them through, and they praised God as a result. So my question for you today is, when have you experienced some of those same things? We haven't wandered in the desert, but we've certainly experienced times of darkness, times of despair. We have felt the weight of heaviness on our shoulders. We have experienced loss. We've had challenges that have seemed insurmountable at the time. Yet I want you to know that whether you have come through that time or you feel as if you are in the midst of that time, I want you to know that God's presence with you has not changed. God is there. God is with you through that journey. God still offers us redemption. God still saves us. God still brings us out of darkness and despair. A friend of mine lost her son by suicide about 10 years ago, and she shared a quote. It is a quote from Jerry Sitzer, and I want to read it for you. It says, "Gifts of grace come to all of us, but we must be ready to see and be willing to receive these gifts. It will require a kind of sacrifice, the sacrifice of believing that however painful our losses, life can still be good. Good in a different way than before, but nevertheless good." That's God's redemption for us. That's God's goodness, no matter what it is that we have experienced. What will your redemption story be? How has God brought you out of a time of darkness, out of a time of despair, out of a time of loss, out of a time of wandering? How has God redeemed you? How has he brought you out of a dark season into a season full of God's mercy and God's grace? How has God redeemed you? Oh, give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His love endures forever.